Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone from Eastern Canada here on this Saturday morning, Ekadashi, a day for celebration of spiritual life and an opportunity for us to continue our advancement in the practice of Bhakti Yoga. This is a mission that we have, each one of us, to maximize the benefit of the human form of life, as given the inspiration and direction from our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, who personified the use of time. And you, if you had a chance to associate with Prabhupada personally, then you realized how fixed he was in his daily efforts to please his spiritual master. Very, very conscientious about everything, about money. We'll be reading further in the diaries today, or moving forward into the future, how he precisely calculated the amount of money that he received and the amount of money that he spent. He was not a frivolous person. Quite the contrary, very precise. And being the representative of Bhaktisiddhanta, being an Acharya, he was the bona fide representative of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is quite significant because who Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having gathered so many of his devotees to appear in this world, and then subsequently after his departure, then so many devotees, great devotees, inspired by that opportunity, continued to propagate Krishna consciousness, specifically in India. But Prabhupada, our Prabhupada, is amazing because he took this message out of India and brought it to the Western world and subsequently to the whole world in a very short amount of time. Remarkable achievement. We all look at success stories and want to know, how did this person do this? Become so rich, or become so famous, or become so successful in so many different ways? Well, we all know it's through focus, very focused effort. And in this particular case with Srila Prabhupada, he was focused on the right thing, which was how to help people get out of the conditioned life of birth, death, disease, and old age. Very valuable. And when he came to America, arrived in New York, he had absolutely zero facility. He didn't even have the support of his godbrothers at all. Nobody. He was a man on his own, really. But he had one thing, he had the absolute conviction that if he followed in the footsteps of his spiritual master, then Krishna would help him to spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya to all of us. So this is a very great achievement. And we can all celebrate that achievement and also celebrate our position as his servants. the servants of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And that is why we started the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society, to give people an opportunity to be a part of a similar-minded group of people that are focused on serving Srila Prabhupada as the pure representative of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. And we're going to move forward here into the reading of the diaries. Here we have the Jaladuta diary. Amazing. Eh? Brahmananda brought this book to me. He came to my house, Yashoda, with his brother Gargamuni in the 90s. And back then he had all kinds of books they were selling, and I managed to buy these books from him, and I'm very, very pleased to have them here in my ashram and able to give the message of the diaries to all of our community, because some of you may not be aware of Prabhupada's greatness, and the diaries, I think, really bring it out in such a remarkable way, because it's all written by Srila Prabhupada. And here we're at the end of the, excuse me, of this first volume. And we have another volume too called The Beginnings, which is the diaries when he is operating. He starts to get going in New York City, which are very engaging. But we're going to read a section here at the end of the diary, which is Prabhupada from a discussion with his disciples, and they're telling, he's telling them about his journey, so we get an insight into that from him. There is no objection certificate sponsor and everything. I was out of Delhi. Then when I came back, I took it. So everything was there. That sheet indistinct from the Indian consulate. No objection certificate. Then I applied for a passport. In this way, I had to go. Gopal was unknown to me, but his father was. His father was known to me. His father was. Then his agent got me on the bus. So on the bus, I went to Pennsylvania. Hari, sorry, that's a long drive. Prabhupada, yes, 9 hours on the bus. And I took a little chipped rice and whatever I had with me. So I got down from the ship about 1 o'clock. Prabhupada brought this chipped rice on the boat. Then I had to wait for the bus till about 5 o'clock. Then at 5 o'clock, the bus started. About 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I went to Pennsylvania, and just in front of the bus, Gopal was standing with his car, what is called van car, Harikesh, station wagon. Prabhupada, station wagon. So he took my luggage, and about from there 30 miles off the Butler County. So I went there. Then at night he took the next day he had no many rooms in his apartment. He arranged for my stay in the YMCA nearby them. Hari, sorry, you never actually stayed with them then. Prabhupada, I was taking my meals there. Oh, Hari, sorry, says, and just keeping a room at the YMCA? Yeah, Prabhupada, because he had no room, so I was staying there. Hari, sorry. And then he arranged programs, speaking programs. Prabhupada. His wife, Sally, she was arranging, a very intelligent girl. They were of the same age, about 30. Gopal was more than 30, and she was indistinct. I saw that, indistinct is words. I saw that she was feeding her child, one boy, meat powder. Harikesh, beef bouillon? Prabhupada, I don't know what the name is, but I asked. She said, it's meat powder. That is the system. Hari sorry. When they were very young and they can't eat solids, Prabhupada with hot water, yes, they have instant meals for children, all different kinds of things. Srila Prabhupada. So Gopal was very much pleased that he could get some Indian chapatis like this. So Hari story asked, so you had to cook for him? You took your cooker with you? Is that the same one? No, I lived, Prabhupada said, with him for 21 days. Then I came to New York. Hari sorry. Yes, the picture in the Butler Eagle. It's in the Vyas Puja book this year. Prabhupada, yes. Butler County is good. It is good. There were many churches. People have got so many churches. Sometime that one piece of wire lying on one place, one piece of bamboo was lying in another place, one dry shell of a squash was lying. So one intelligent man collected, so this dry cell became the tambur, is what is called. Hari sorry, I don't know. Like sound chamber, what do you call it? Prabhupada, sound chamber may be called. So with that dry squash, he made the sound chamber, the bamboo he fixed up, and the wire upon it. And when it became a tin, our organization is like that. I was loitering in the street. Somebody was over there, somebody was there. Not combined together, International Society of the String Band. Yet separately, we are all useless, eh? So true. It's very difficult to start a movement, a society, any kind of group. It's not, when you use that term, it's a very significant, has a lot of meaning to it. It's difficult to bring people together, that's for sure. But Prabhupada was very successful. And when you see all the beautiful photographs of his success that we show on the screen, all the people that came to us, it was amazing. I'm going to read forward here. The following letter is to Sumati Morarji, who gave Srila Prabhupada free passage to New York on the Jaladuta. And I've mentioned, for those who are new, that don't know, that I had a private darshan with her in her estate in Bombay on the ocean, on her request, when I was in Bombay at the temple before it was constructed, actually, with Srila Prabhupada there. I was just a member, wasn't there as some kind of guest of honor, but just a member. New York, October 27th, 1965, Madame Sumati Morarji Vasaheba. Please accept my greetings. I'm very glad to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated the 9th instant, and I've noted the contents. Since I have landed in USA, I've improved in my health, and I'm very glad to see that in America, practically everything is available for our Indian vegetarian dishes. By the grace of Lord Krishna, the American are prosperous in every respect, and they are not poverty-stricken like the Indians. The people in general are satisfied so far their material needs are concerned, and they are spiritually inclined. When I was in Butler, Pennsylvania, about 500 miles from New York City, I saw there were many churches, and they were attending regularly. This shows that they are spiritually inclined. I was also invited by some churches governed, schools and colleges, and I spoke there, and they appreciated and presented me some token awards. When I was speaking to the students, they were very much eagerly hearing me about the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, rather than the clergymen were cautious to allow the students to hear me so patiently. They thought that the students may not be converted into Hindu ideas, as it is quite natural for any religious sect. But they did not know that the devotional service of the Lord, Sri Krishna, is the common religion for everyone, including the Aborigines and the cannibals in the jungles. Anyway, so far I've studied the American people. They are very much eager to learn about the Indian way, spiritual realization. And there are so many so-called yoga ashrams in America. Unfortunately, they are not very much adored by the government, and it is heard that such yoga ashrams have exploited the innocent people, as it has been the case in India also. The only benefit is that they are spiritually inclined, and immense benefit can be done to them if the cult, now remember this word cult, it wasn't a pejorative term back then. It was a term describing a group of people with a certain amount of belief, common beliefs. Then it became cult. Cult name became negative in the 70s. Can be done if the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam is preached here. The American public also gave reception to the Indian art and music. So many of them come, and every one of them is given good reception. Recently, one dancer from Madras came here, Baha Saraswati, and just to see the mode of reception, I went to see the dance, and a friend, although for the last 40 years I've never attended with a friend, I've never attended such dance ceremony for 40 years. Interesting. The Prabhupada wasn't interested in dances. The dancer was successful in her demonstration. The music was in Indian classical tune, mostly in Sanskrit language, and the American public appreciated them. So I was encouraged to see the favorable circumstances about my future preaching work. So we'll carry on with this reading tomorrow before the Srimad Bhagavatam discussion and reading. And now we'll move forward with a wonderful reading and discussion of the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, the original unedited version by His Divine Grace. And it'll be conducted by our wonderful godbrother, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, from Twain Hart, California, who's suffering through the perils of the winter months there, but nonetheless, we're happy to see him online and connected to us on the sadhana program that we've created for everyone's benefit. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Bhagavad-gītā Sadasyaman Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridhar ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the Son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1 to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2 to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3 to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4 to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do every week, we will be reciting the verses from the introduction as given by Srila Prabhupada in his original 1972 Macmillan non-edited, non-adulterated version. We are reading from the introduction on page number 1. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Ghurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. Today we will be reading from chapter 10, text numbers 16 and 17. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 16. Vaktum arasya sheshena divyahyatma vibhutayah yabhir vibhutibir lokan imam stvam vyapyatishtasi vaktum, to say, arhasi, deserve, asheshena, in detail, divya, divine, he, certainly, atma, yourself, vibhutayaha, opulences, yabihi, by which, vibhutibihi, opulences, lokan, all the planets, iman, these, tvam, you, vyapya, pervading, tishtasi, remain. Translation. Please tell me in detail of your divine powers by which you pervade all these worlds and abide in them. Purport. In this verse, it appears that Arjuna is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Lord Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna has personal experience, intelligence and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have through all these agencies, and he has understood Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him, there is no doubt. Yet, he's asking Krishna to explain his all-pervading nature so that in the future people will understand, especially the impersonalists, how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. Text 17. Katam vidyam maham yogim. Katam vidyam maham yogim. Tvam sada parichintayan. Tvam sada parichintayan. Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu. Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu. Chintyosi Bhagavan Maya. Chintyosi Bhagavan Maya. Katam, how? Vidyam aham, shall I know? Yogin, O Supreme Mystic. Tvam, you. Sada, always. Parichintayan, thinking. Keshu, in which. Keshu, in which. Cha, also. Bhaveshu, nature. Chintya asi, you are remembered. Bhagavan, O Supreme. Maya, by me. Translation. How shall I meditate on you? In what various forms are you to be contemplated, O blessed Lord? Purport. As it is stated in the previous chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is covered by his Yoga Maya. Only surrendered souls and devotees can see him. Now Arjuna is convinced that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, but he wants to know the general process by which the all-pervading Lord can be understood by the common man. No common man, including the demons and atheists, can know Krishna because he is guarded by his Yogamaya energy. Again, these questions are asked by Arjuna for their benefit. The superior devotee is not only concerned for his own understanding, but for the understanding of all mankind. Out of his mercy, because he's a Vaishnava, a devotee, Arjuna is opening the understanding for the common man as far as the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme is concerned. He addresses Krishna specifically as Yogin because Sri Krishna is the master of the Yoga Maya energy, by which he is covered and uncovered to the common man. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world, because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually. They're advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad-vandanam khadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Danter Idam Yachi Punah Punah Srimad Padam Bhoja Dhurishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishtashat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Here we see Arjuna is requesting Krishna, please tell me about your opulences, your divine powers, by which you pervade all these worlds. It's important to note that not everyone in the world, in the material world, is on the same level of realization, the same level of knowledge, the same level of devotion, and the same level of understanding. This is a very important point, because we see Prabhupada describes here, for him there is no doubt, yet he's asking Krishna to explain his all-pervading nature so that in the future people will understand, especially the impersonalists, how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. Because many times, various persons would ask Srila Prabhupada, do you see Krishna? Can I see Krishna? Prabhupada would often reply, do you have the eyes to see Krishna? You have to be qualified to see Krishna. Another time, Prabhupada was asked about seeing Krishna. Prabhupada said, yes, I see Krishna, but unless you know how Krishna, who is Krishna, how will you understand? And Prabhupada gave the example of a medical practitioner, of a doctor who undergoes the studies and becomes qualified as a practicing physician. That person can explain medicine, cure patients, prescribe medications. But if one is not qualified, how will he do that? So Prabhupada would often quote that verse from the Padma Purana, a very famous verse. Whenever people would ask him, do you see Krishna? Prabhupada, first you have to purify the senses. Ata Sri Krishna namadi nabhaved griyam indriyai. Nabhaved griyam indriyai means these blunt material senses, we cannot perceive Krishna. We are contaminated. We are contaminated by the influence of this material energy. Whoever is in this material world, is under the influence of the material energy. There was another lecture in the 1950s where Prabhupada was describing how Durga, as a trident, Durga is the agent of Krishna to keep the living entities in the material world under the influence of Maya. And she has a trident with 3 prongs, with 3 spikes. What are these 3 spikes? These are the 3 modes of material nature, and she's inflicting miseries. Adhyatmika klesha, miseries due to one's body. Adhibhautika klesha, miseries due to other living entities. And adhidaivika klesha, miseries due to the influence of the material nature. We've often discussed, as part of these various classes, how in this material world there is always some problem. Just like a few months ago, there was a big earthquake in Turkey. Now, this earthquake was so massive that so many thousands of people died and hundreds of buildings collapsed. Did anybody want that earthquake? No. Did anybody pray for that earthquake? No. But that suffering is imposed by the influence of the demigods. Just like here in California, in the summer in the Central Valley, it gets a little warm. 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 105 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's a little warm. And they have forest fires that can be quite devastating. In the winter in the mountains, it's very cold. It can be freezing. There is snow, even in Canada, in Russia, Scandinavian countries in the winter. It can be very cold, very severe cold. Even in India, sometimes it can be quite warm in the summer. So there are various conditions imposed by the material nature. Adhidaivika klesha. Sometimes where it's too much rain, I keep joking that Indra and Vayu are very upset, and they're inflicting some miseries upon the inhabitants of a particular region. But those who do not have the eyes to see cannot understand this. They think it all happens by chance. Nothing happens by chance. There is a cause behind everything. So Durga, the agent of Krishna, she inflicts these various sufferings, these various miseries upon the living entities. The first point, adhyatmika klesha, miseries to one's body. Everybody knows the minute you get a body, janma mrityu jara vyadi, birth, death, old age, and disease. There is suffering. There is suffering. You cannot avoid the suffering. As a matter of fact, when we study Bhagavad-gītā, in the beginning of Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna in the 2nd chapter, it's very interesting that Krishna starts telling Arjuna that all these kings, natvevaham jatunasam, that all these kings are all individuals. You are an individual and you will remain nacheva na bhavishyamaha, in the future also. Then Krishna gives his instruction. Dehinosmin yata dehi kaumaram yovanam jara. About how the soul in the material body changes. The material body is changing. And at the end of life, then one will tata dehantara prapti, one will get another body according to the mental condition at the time of death. Dhirastatranamui, but one who is a dhira is not bewildered. But the question is how to become a dhira, how to become a self-realized soul. That one has to take shelter of a pure devotee of Krishna, of a self-realized acharya, spiritual preceptor, also known in Sanskrit as a guru. Now, nowadays in Kali Yuga, there are many persons pretending or posing to be in that position. One has to use his God-given intelligence to understand how to choose the proper preceptor. Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto that one should approach a saintly person not for seeing, but for hearing. One has to develop the proper taste for hearing. And this is the point of Prabhupada quoting that verse, how to purify the blunt senses. Atasri Krishna namadhi nabhavam giriyamindriye sevanmukhe jivado. How to become transcendental, to go beyond the influence of these various miseries. How to do that? One has to engage the tongue in the service of Krishna. The tongue has two basic functions, to taste and to vibrate. We taste foodstuffs and we are constantly speaking, vibrating. So one has to engage the tongue in tasting foodstuff offered to Krishna according to the instruction of the spiritual master with love and devotion. And one should engage the tongue in speaking about Krishna and the ears to hear about Krishna. Then one will gradually become liberated. Liberated from these miseries, liberated from these material influences. When we listen to the various news, we see in the material world there is constant lamentation. Two basic fundamentals, sankalpa and vikalpa. The mind wants to accept things that are pleasurable for sense gratification, and vikalpa, it wants to reject things that are not pleasurable for sense gratification. So in order to be situated on the transcendental spiritual platforms, one has to develop a taste for hearing from authorized disciplic succession. There was an interesting YouTube video the other day, which was sent to me by one devotee, where Prabhupada was explaining that in order to understand spiritual life, one has to be very careful. Prabhupada was saying there are many different philosophers with many different theories, and so many of them, since time immemorial, they don't agree with one another. They all fight with one another to try to understand what is the absolute truth, what is the goal of life. But in order to understand properly, one has to follow dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The truth of philosophical debate, philosophical understanding of religious discourse means it is hidden. Nihitam guhayam. In Sanskrit, this word guha means secret, hidden. Then how would he understand? Mahajano yena gasat sampantaha. By following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, the great authorized preceptors in the line of disciplic succession. Now in our disciplic succession, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have various acharyas, spiritual authorities, which have explained things in great detail. And the current acharya of this sampradaya is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, whose picture is just here behind. He has explained through his various writings and shown by personal example how to become purified, how to become free from the influence of the suffering of this material world. Simply what one has to do is to engage in chanting Hare Krishna, following the basic fundamental principles of spiritual life, and study the Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam. We see in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, our Shukadev Goswami, the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam, explains Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is a very vast ocean of literatures, out of which the Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the topmost literature. Why? Because it is simply concerned about the position and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So simply we want to engage our mind, engage our senses in hearing about Krishna, and gradually one will become purified. Actually, one can become immediately purified. But to stay purified, that's why we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll leave it at that. We'll open the discussion and further comments from various devotees. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, glories to Prabhupada. Yes, this is the purpose of these teachings, to teach us how to become qualified, to understand who is Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, and what our purpose of life is. Although God is omniscient and omnipresent, we still can't see him. Most people have no ability to see him because our eyes, first of all, are not a suitable means to see a transcendental spiritual form. How do we see God? With these material eyes? Look at how defective they are. Even in my own life, I only see out of one eye, really. I was born with a defect, so I'm partially blind in these eyes. Can I see? Well, I can read, thank God, thank Krishna, but to be able to see the transcendental form of the Lord is not done through the imperfect eye. The eyes are not the means to see Krishna. It's actually, Prabhupada has explained to us that the Vaishnava sees through his ears or her ears, through hearing. And in this way, they have an understanding of how Krishna is existing, how we are situated in this material world, incarcerated in this frame, material frame, very temporary and troublesome frame, like a prison house. So we're in this prison house. We have the subtle body, which is residing here, mind, intelligence, and ego. We have to understand these aspects, how the mind works, how the intelligence works, how the ego works, and how to overcome the defects of material life. If you think you're perfect, well, that's a problem. This false ego. Of course, when people become enamored by material life, they think that this body and this material life, career, my wife, my children, my social position, my money, that's all in all, and that's what they believe they are. It's like a person with a car. If the car's hit, they own my car. You're not the car. You own it temporarily, but you go through so many different cars. So understanding Krishna through the association of an enlightened spiritual soul, like the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, gives us an opportunity to rise above the conditions of animal life. Because really, God consciousness is not available to the hogs and dogs. It isn't. human life of all the different species on this planet, everyone, we all know that the only life form that's capable of this is the human form of life, not the dog, although we have a dog society. People are so enamored by their dogs. And this is their focus. Instead of G-O-D, it's D-O-G. I've told this past time. We were in Don Valley Parkway. We took Srila Prabhupada on a walk. And up on a pole, there was a sign, stoop and scoop. Now, back then in 76, that was a new thing. In other words, the society here in the West hadn't developed a system for people to pick up the dog stool on their walks. So it was, prior to that, it would just be everywhere. Like in some countries, they don't have any rules like that. So Prabhupada looked at it, he took his cane, he pointed to the sign and he smiled and he goes, this is the difference between us and them. So they worship dog, we worship God. And because of that, they spend their time going on a dog walk, and then as a human being, you're serving the dog, you have to pick up this dog's stool. Unfortunate. And then people expect to understand who God is just by whimsical activity, day after day. They spend no time in study. Yes, sound is the means, and there are a variety of means to purify us as well in this body, material body. And Yaśodā-nandana talked about prasadam. Yes, we have the means of eating spiritual food, sanctified by Krishna. First, we offer it to Krishna. Krishna teaches us this in the Gita. So every day in your house, you carefully offer the food to your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and then you take the remnants of that prasadam, and it purifies your existence. It's prophylactic and antiseptic. I have a new person here at my ashram. Every day I teach them one thing, the same thing. You're eating prasadam, it's prophylactic and antiseptic because it's been offered to Krishna. It will purify you. The prasadam acts in a very wonderful manner by the blessings of Srila Prabhupada. We have japa that we chant, as we all know, and I was going over this, Yaśodā Prabhu, that we have a commitment to chanting japa 16 rounds a day for 365 days a year. That's 10 million 50,000 names of God, of Krishna, every year that the disciples should follow. Why? Because this is how you discipline yourself to become qualified to see Krishna. It's not just by you want to do it, you have to show. You have Prabhupada mentions, as you did, I believe, don't act in such a way to try to see God. Act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. Why? Because we realize who we are. We're insignificant in this universe, and we're entombed in this material body filled with all kinds of trouble. Yes, we all have that experience. So there is qualifications of rising up from the animal platform of life by how we eat, how we spend our time. Time, yes. And there's so much information, yet people are not aware of it, of the transcendental world. They think, well, what the heck what are you talking about? Well, there are millions of verses in the different shastras that reveal the shrutis, these concise bits of knowledge that reveal to us the predicament, the mystery of material life, and how to get out of it. There's 100,000 verses in the Mahabharata. There's 18,000 verses in the Bhagavatam. There's over 11,000 verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's 700 verses in the Gita. Is that enough to study? Is there any information about spiritual life contained there? When it comes from the lips of a bona fide representative like A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, even every word that he speaks is Shastra. Every word. If you listen to the lectures of Prabhupada on a daily basis, everyone, if you listen to them, you get a wealth of information about who you are and what is life, just as he speaks, everything that he says, because he's speaking as the via transparent media of the Supreme Lord himself. Yes. So it is a mystery. Yes, I agree. But it's a mystery that can be solved, just like the surgeon. If you go to the hospital, if you're sick, you go to see the surgeon. Now, has the surgeon studied medicine? Well, yes, he has. Has he practiced it? Oh, yes, for many, many years. It might take 10 years, 15 years for him to become qualified to go. Is it a mystery to you? Oh, yeah, it is. It's a mystery to me. I don't know how they perform these surgeries, how they save your life through modern medicine, with these operations. It's a mystery, but it is not a mystery to the surgeon. So in the same way, as devotees, Krishna consciousness is not a mystery for the devotees that follow in the footsteps of the spiritual master and take up the process seriously of chanting, offering their food, and hearing the philosophy, and associating with other devotees. Like we have this sadhana program we've started, 3 classes a week. It's 4.5 hours. And we want to thank everyone for being a part of this, because association is also inspiring to keep each one of us on the path back home, back to Godhead. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, further, if you could explain to us.
Well, you're bringing up some very important points, because Prabhupada gives the standard of how to go back home, back to Godhead. All of his instructions, all of his teachings, everything is very clear. It's not like a very secret for select few people. No, it's available and everyone can have access to this information and to this spiritual practice. Now, you brought up a very important point about the surgeon, a very qualified surgeon. I had experience with a relative who had to get a very complex operation in Southern California. So when I met this surgeon, I had a conversation with him, and I asked him, from the time you finish high school till you're able to perform these complicated cancer type surgeries, how many years of training do you have to have? He says 14. 4 years past high school, then another several years of medical school, several years of residency, several years of special. Now, these are some of the most complex surgeries in the world, like brain surgery, heart surgery, very complex cancer surgery. Somebody may say, a high school student would say, "Oh, I've read a little book about anatomy and biology or structure, so I want to do a surgery." He goes to the hospital, "I want to do a brain surgery." You think they'll allow that? Nope. Why? Because he's not sufficiently trained. Doesn't matter how intelligent he may be. It doesn't matter how he thinks he can do whatever he wants. There's a standard process. There is a systematic process of training. Similarly, in order to understand Krishna, in order to see Krishna eventually, in order to become free from the influence of this material world, there's a standard process. I was going to read a content of a conversation with Srila Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
This is one morning walk on April 3rd, 1974 in Bombay. Morning walk in Bombay, India on April 3rd, 1974, where Prabhupada and Dr. Patel are discussing this exact same verse that we read today in the Bhagavad-gītā. Prabhupada, yes, therefore to understand you have to, is to take information from you, not from others. What Krishna says. Dr. Patel, Swayamevatmadatmanam. Prabhupada, yes, because you know yourself what you are. Nobody knows. Therefore, to understand Krishna or God is to accept whatever is spoken in the Bhagavad-gītā. That is real understanding. Dr. Patel, Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpati. Prabhupada, yes. Dr. Patel, Vaktum Arasya Sheshena Devya Hyatma Vibhutavan. The verse we're discussing today. Prabhupada, Deva Deva, there are many demigods, but you are also. Dr. Patel, Deva of the Devas. Ah, Prabhupada, you are the supreme of all of them, Deva Deva. You're worshipped by the Devas. Dr. Patel, Bhaktumarasya Sheshena, Divyahyatma Vibhutayaha, Yabhir Vibhutibhir Lokan, Imam Stram Vyapyatishtasi. Prabhupada, now this is to be understood how you're all pervading by your influence, by your power. That means you're always there. You, person, is there. Just like a big man, big businessman is sitting in his room, but he is all pervading, Dr. Patel. But he must have got special powers deputed to certain people. And these are that vibhutis. Prabhupada, yes, that is vibhuti. That does not mean Mayavadi philosophy is because he is spread everywhere, therefore he is in person. He remains person without any change, avyaya, but still he's spread. That he's asking that how shall I understand you, that you are spread everywhere? Akilatma bhutaha, goloke eva nivasati akilatma bhutaha. Brahma Samhita 537. That is, so we have to understand from Krishna how he is all-pervading, not that mental speculation. Just like if you take a thing and distribute all over, the original thing is lost. Not like that. Original Krishna is there. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes. So Krishna reveals himself to his devotee. That's how you become Krishna conscious. It's by revelation. And I see that we have a few of our God brothers here and some questions that are coming up on the screen from various members of our group today. And I'd like to ask Jonas Priya, our God brother of many, many years in Hawaii, now residing there in Hawaii, to share his realizations this morning in terms of these verses and our discussion. Jonas Priya in Hawaii.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Aloha to everybody. Yes,
Aloha.
we're talking very, very important point here. That we have to act. We always think, oh, I want to see Krishna. Remember when I first became a devotee, I used to distribute magazines on this corner in Vancouver. And I thought, oh, Krishna is going to appear to me. And I thought, if Krishna appears to me right here on the corner of Granville and whatever, Georgia Street in Vancouver, I will make him a temple right here on this corner. So I mean, that's a nice thought, but in reality, we have to act like we've been saying that we have to act in a way that even our guru wants to see us, let's say, a Krishna. But we know that it is a bona fide process, and that's why we follow the parampara. So Prabhupada gave us, not only did he tell us you have to love Krishna, but he told us how to love Krishna. And this is what Prabhupada does. On all his writings, he doesn't create questions. Most books that you read, you start reading these books and you just get all these questions and there's no answers. But Prabhupada's always providing a clear, right to the point answer in every subject. And as we were discussing in here, Arjuna was so kind to take the part of us, the jivas, asking all these questions to Krishna. Krishna, what about this? What about if somebody gets involved in this process and doesn't complete it? So Krishna gave him the answer in the same way Prabhupada is given all the answers. Everything that we know, we need to know is there on Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's original books. And this is very important point that Prabhupada's original books, that's the only books that we should read. Why? Because they haven't been poisoned by the lips of the snake. So if we stay away from the poison, then we will become healthy. If we start reading books that have poison, we'll become unhealthy. And this is a fact. You could see these people reading these concocted books and following concocted philosophies, which they create every single day. Till I say it won't be long where this philosophy will be so distorted that it'll be a complete different thing. That's what we have to fight till our last breath to establish Prabhupada's way of preaching. Prabhupada did not speculate. Prabhupada did not make anything up. What did Prabhupada do? He simply repeated what Bhaktisiddhanta said. And Prabhupada said, you might be fools, you might be nonsense, but if you go out and you distribute my books are not nonsense, so my books will have the effect. So we become instruments of the self-realized soul. And then Krishna is blessing us. I could tell in my life, Krishna has given me way more than I deserve. Krishna has been so kind to me, always. And I see, we were talking about Prasadam. I see in the magic of Prasadam on people that were almost subhuman, and they start honoring Prasadam, and it might take days, weeks, years, for some of us, even lifetimes. But Prasadam is Prabhupada's ultimate weapon, and he said this simply wonderfuls are bullets, and we distribute this prasadam to the people, and you see how they become advanced. And that's one very good way to preach to people that don't want to hear about Krishna. We just give them a little prasadam. Hare Krishna.
Yes, it's a process of purification. So one has to realize that they're raised or conditioned by their environment. We're all conditioned souls. In Canada here, meat eating is very popular. I know in Venezuela, it's also very popular there. How are you going to make advancement in spiritual life if you're eating meat every day? It's violence. There's a severe karmic reaction for that. Now, if you explain that to somebody, they look at, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I love my hamburgers. Okay, you're insane. You're crazy. Well, what do you mean? It's bad for your health, not only materially, but it's bad, very bad for your spiritual life. And then you expect to be spiritually advanced. You have no idea what you're doing. You're a madman. And we've got Tim Lee with us. in California as well, Paranjana. How are you, Prabhu? Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maybe you could share a few insights today on the verses and discussion.
Haribo, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Well, yeah, I've been talking with different devotees about these topics, and it seems like Prabhupada was always trying to discriminate Krishna consciousness from the ritualistic performance of Vedic sacrifices and the smarter Brahmana type program, where they just engage in ceremonies, official ceremonies in the temples. But there's no real juice. There's no real actual Krishna consciousness being transmitted from these Brahminical principles. And also, the Brahmins were against Lord Chaitanya, and they were against Prabhupada. So they were saying that modern day ISKCON has become a smarter Brahmana program from their point of view, because it is just all ritualistic. They're doing Kara Puja, weddings, and Hindu ceremonies, including they're introducing demigod ceremonies in some temples. And somebody said they even saw a dog being blessed. A dog was blessed at an ISKCON, and this Bhakti Marg was blessing the dogs in the park. So, none of this is connected to Prabhupada's actual teachings, that you have to be a servant of Krishna, you have to learn how to become a lover of Krishna, and you have to therefore reject all these material religious principles. But unfortunately, the tendency in Kali Yuga is to go back to these ritualistic activities, which are just like a mundane business. And Prabhupada also said, if you have the Hindus take over my mission, it will become a business. So the Hindu program is like a business, and therefore they can't really give people the connection to Krishna, which is required to go back to Godhead. So anyway, so I've been, talking to people about these points, and more people are realizing that this is just like an external show, just like the Smartas have been for thousands of years, in India. And there were even Smartas at the time of Krishna, and they helped Kamsa, and they helped these bogus kings and everything, even though they were dressed as brahmanas. They were advisors to these bogus kings, and they were advisors to the Kauravas. The Kauravas had their crew of Brahminical so-called scholars who were giving the wrong advice. Don't worship Krishna, don't surrender to Krishna, don't help the Pandavas, and help these bogus people. So this is something important for us to understand, that what we're dealing with is really just a mundane religion influence overtaking ISKCON. And we have to alert people to this process so that we can warn them and guide them out of the woods, out of the wilderness of this process. Haribol.
That's a very interesting point that you've made, and it's unfortunate. The term has been called Hinduization of the mission. We're not against people practicing their belief, but we are against adulteration of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya coming in succession from Srila Prabhupada. We're interested in truth, Guru Tattva, Krishna Tattva. That is so important. People criticize us because they think we're fault finding. We're not fault finding anyone. We're discussing the truth. That's why we joined this mission, because we are sincere seekers of the truth, not of rituals and formalities or false prestige or false position. That is not the goal of the real yogi. The goal of the yogi is to perform austerities and penances for the satisfaction of their spiritual master and for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And I see that we have our friend, who always has his hand up, Yaśodā, quite nicely, Nilesh Dalal, who's been here from the beginning of the morning program today. Nilesh, Prabhu, what are your thoughts today, or your points or questions? Hare Krishna. Look at that beautiful face with a smile. Check your microphone, Prabhu. Check your microphone. It's not on. Your microphone
Yes,
is not
can you
on.
hear me?
Yeah, we
There
hear
we
you
go.
now. Yeah, there we
Yes,
go.
thank you.
And I believe
All
you're a
right.
doctor too. We spoke quite a bit about doctors today.
Yes, I have a different view on that. I'm a periodontist, a gum specialist.
A
So,
which?
a gum specialist,
Oh,
dentist,
gum. A
specialist,
dentist. Oh,
a dental
okay. Excellent.
specialist specializing in gums.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
in fact, one doctor to another, I remember one of my teachers telling me is that if you think that you cure the patient, think again. You don't cure the patient, you help the patient's body to heal itself.
Uh,
So it is
Go
pretty
ahead,
humbling.
please.
Yes. So one question I had is, as per today, is that if we were to do if we have to see Krishna or what you call follow in the footsteps of, or in the direction which Prabhupada tells us, japa is one of the important things. And I
Yes.
always have that question in my mind is, Prabhupada always says that you should chant japa in a mood of separation, like a
Uh,
child yearning for his mother. Now, my question is, I am so fallen and I've been associated with this material from time immemorial that I don't remember any of my association with Krishna or the spiritual world. How do I revive, or how do I chant in that mood when I don't even know, I don't even recollect what it is to be with my mother, or to yearn out, or chant in that mood of separation where I don't even recollect being with Krishna, and I'm just beginning this process. So how do I chant in that way? That's my
okay.
question.
Yaśodā, please.
Well, Prabhupada has given many, many instructions about the proper mood and mindset of chanting. For one thing, he gives the instruction to chant attentively, that one should chant, like everybody is familiar with that famous tape of japa, where Prabhupada interrupted the chanting and said, sit properly. And then many times Prabhupada would tell the devotees, pay attention, that each word should be distinct, should be audible. And there's many descriptions. For example, in the Hari Bhakti-Vilas, the devotees should practice japa in the morning, especially during Brahma Muhurta. And Prabhupada is given instruction we should chant 16 rounds. But the mindset is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, especially in his Shikshastakam, text number 2 and 3. He is explaining Nam Namakari Bavuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. That you have invested all your transcendental potencies in these names. But unfortunately, na anuragana, I have no taste for them. Now, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking. He's explaining that although he is the example of the most perfect devotee, for our understanding, he's explaining that I have no taste for the chanting. That although it is so attractive, so sweet, so beautiful, that I have no taste. There's a very interesting ashtakam composed by Rupa Goswami called Nam Ashtakam, 8 verses in glorification of the holy name of Krishna, in which Rupa Goswami is explaining very nicely the whole process, the whole understanding of the chanting. And we see throughout Prabhupada's lectures and conversations and books and letters, there are so many instructions, how Prabhupada quotes from so many different scriptures, explaining the meaning of the chanting, the process of the chanting, the mindset of the chanting, just like we're quoting from the Shikshastakam. Well, the third verse of Shikshastakam, that one should be humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. There is various mindset, devotional mindset, in order to have proper fruitful japa. And this is Prabhupada's transcendental blessings on us. That's why when people say, well, you need a living guide, well, Prabhupada is still living. He's living in sound. You can hear him chanting japa. You can hear explaining the meaning of japa, the meaning of the holy name by his lectures. You can read his books. All of these are various physical manifestations. The whole function of approaching a living guide is to get that connection. Prabhupada is giving that connection every day. So that's why it is so important to chant japa properly, according to the instruction of the spiritual master. And then we can use this modern technology for spiritual advancement. Hear Prabhupada chanting japa. There are so many beautiful tapes of Prabhupada chanting. One can hear very nicely, chant along with Prabhupada, meditate upon Krishna. In this way, make spiritual advancement, become purified, and like that. I hope it helps.
Thank you very much. And guess what, everyone? We've reached the end of our program. It is 11:31, and we want to thank everyone for attending this very informative discussion and reading on how to become self-realized in this world of dreams, where we're all in a dream world. And we're trying to wake up out of this dream world, and we do it through the association of the pure devotee A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who's given us the insight how to wake up. So we're going to look forward to everybody tomorrow morning for our Srimad Bhagavatam class at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please invite your friends and family to participate if you feel there'll be some benefit for them. And we'll carry on with our mission this year of presenting Krishna consciousness without adulteration or contamination of personal motive. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission.
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Chakalpa tarubhyascha kripa
Kripa
sindubhya eva cha
Sindhu
patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow is Ekadasi according to the Mayapur calendar. I believe in India right now, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, it is already Sunday and Ekadasi over there?
No, it's still Saturday. Tomorrow, Sunday, it'll be Ekadashi. Yes.
Okay, very good. Excellent. And an announcement, next weekend, we will have a dual program for the Disappearance Day of Jiva Goswami. We'll be in Sacramento with Bhaktaram, and we'll have interesting discussion. Program should begin around 10:45. We'll have nice kirtan, reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Artik. It'll be a brief program, but we invite everybody to join in. That'll be very nice. And also, we are working on trying to produce the first edition of our newsletter, Hare Krishna Society and Prabhupada Disciples Association. We have the material, we're just putting things together. So we asked everybody to be a little patient. It will come soon. So we're moving forward. Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. And any other comments or announcement, Vishwa Prabhu?
Just tomorrow's class, 10 o'clock. Thank you very much. Glories to Prabhupada.
Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.